Okay, so I guess I'm making a fourth clip now. Now, this little series that I'm doing, I'm not doing it intentionally. It just, as I think of it, I talk about it. um, so, what we need to talk about now is what happens when we die. Now, my original, I didn't even want to say theory because I'm not saying it is possible. It's more of a what if scenario. Because, well, actually, I have two goals for these. One is I'm a loser and I just want to mouth off and speak. Okay, it is what it is. And the other goal is I want people to think outside the box. I want people to think differently than what they've been taught. Not so much, not in the sense that what they've been taught is right or wrong necessarily, but what if it's not exactly the way they want to paint it? In other words, question it. Not not to the point of, well, is there God? Isn't there God? I don't mean it like that. Although you should ponder that question. Even born again Christians should ponder: is there a God? Um, and I'm not saying this to bring in like strife or division, or I don't mean it like that. But I think we do have a right to put it to the test. I mean, the Bible even says we do have a right to do that. Test the spirit, test that shit, see if it holds, up to scrutiny. Um, so my original thought was, what if the rapture happened when Christ died and rose again and ascended? What if it happened at that time and it was, how do I want to word it? It was retroactive. So now there's people who die today automatically go back to that moment. Now, okay, there may be a few problems with that. There may be a few questions, but there are still questions the way they present it as is right now, pre-tribulation, rapture, all that stuff. There's a lot of questions there. I'm not going to go into all those. But I think we do need to discuss what happens when we die. Now, I don't want to get into this just because it's kind of fucked up, and I don't really want to get into it again. I started to a little bit in the last clip. That last clip was 3 hours long, man. Holy crap. I don't want to get into my near-death experience as a child too much, but I will kind of gloss over it yet again. Only because it is kind of fascinating. It is a very fascinating concept. It really is. And I wish I had the wherewithal to grasp what was going on and write it down or discuss it or ponder it. 'Cause I was pondering it years later. As in, I knew it happened. I knew what was there. I knew. So a lot of the fear that I had is that later in life I was taking the Christian concepts that I had gained over the years and was trying to shoehorn them into this experience, this event that happened to me as a child. So I whatever, really hard to separate all the bullshit with the actual bullshit, if you get what I'm saying, because it was a lot of bullshit. um, and I honestly try to. You understand? I was like 3 years old. How much indoctrination was there? Even if you're watching, who's that old dude? I can't remember that TV preacher, the old guy with the silver hair. And he had that voice. I can't remember his name. Whatever. He would be on every Sunday. Even if you're like, oh, your mother was watching that and you heard things, and it kind of like imprinted itself in your memory, and you had a dream, and then it just, one thing led to another, and you conjured it up on your mind. Yeah, you know what? Maybe. But again, I was 3 or 4 years old. Between 3 and 5. I don't remember. I think probably around 4. 3.5 to 4 years old. Like, I had just started preschool, so yeah, I had to be like 3 years old, 4 years old. Um, and so I definitely want to go out of my way to try to take all the religious bullshit. Now, it is what it is. I use the word bullshit, but it is what it is. To take all of that stuff and try to separate it from what I do remember. Because there were a lot of parallels to the Christian belief system. And part of me thinks maybe I just took those things later in life and shoehorned them in. But I know for a fact that's not the case, because I do remember feelings, and I remember things, and I remember things I saw. I remember things that I did. I remember certain things. It's just, it's one of those things where you can't express it because you had to feel it. You can't, it's like, oh, I love that person. You know, you can't express it that way. You can't, like, literally a picture is worth 1,000 words. You can't say it. You can't, I can't make you feel what I felt, kind of a deal. And I don't know, but whatever. Anyways, I don't remember what it was. I want to say something like Ritalin, or one of those like rat poison bullshit drugs that they would give children back in the very early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. The ones that were discontinued, the ones that they were like, oh, this is actually harming the little fucker, let's stop. That kind of shit. I want to say Ritalin, but I don't think Ritalin was the right one. I can't remember what it was called. But it was one of those famous ones, and it's like, you're literally giving them, like, rat poison. Anyways, I don't know if I took an overdose. I don't know what happened. Because I remember my mother had a half a day of work because she had to take me to the doctor. They gave us the prescription. We went to whatever Ames or whatever was at the time, whatever pharmacy there was. We went and got it. Actually, I don't think it was Ames. No, what was the early 80s? We had Zares. I remember that. They didn't have a pharmacy, though. At least I don't think they did. Whatever. Rite Aid, maybe? I don't know. I don't know what was in the 80s. Whatever they had in the 80s, we went there. And I remember she was sitting out there. She had that stupid table out there with that black and white TV, and she was watching her soap operas. Because, I don't know, maybe it was like around 1 o'clock, maybe? I don't remember what time it was. Probably closer to 1 o'clock, 1:30. And she's making her lunch. I think I want to say tuna sandwich. I could be wrong on that. It could have been a potato salad, because she used to do potato sandwiches and shit, or even lettuce sandwiches, which, ugh. I want to say tuna, though. I want to say there was tuna, and I think there was lettuce. For some reason, I don't know why I remember that, but that I could be wrong on. I don't, whatever. But she was having her lunch. And of course, we got home. She said, here's the, take X number of pills, X number of minutes, 3 times a day, or whatever it said. Well, she gave me whatever it was they gave me, whatever rat poison they gave me. And she was in the kitchen. I went into the living room, literally on the other side of the wall from her. And I remember I laid on the couch, literally ass up, face down. I just, like, by time I drank the water, but by time I took the pill and got around, because, it was a few minutes before, maybe not a few minutes, but there was enough time for it to kick in before I came and went and laid down. So I drank it, and, I was probably eating chips or whatever with her. She had the little bag of chips. She's watching her show, and she's doing her stuff. She's gonna watch her show before she goes back to work. So by the time I got back into the living room, and it wasn't even that long, maybe a minute or two, I collapsed. Like, bloop, ass up, face down, bloop, right on the couch. Now, I don't know if my face was like pressed in the thing and I was suffocating. Like, you see the babies and shit in the crib and they got the little blanket wrapped around their head and they fucking die. That kind of a thing. Now, granted, I'm like 4 years old, but whatever. And I do vaguely, and I say vaguely because it was a whirlwind. It was like it happened so fast. I do vaguely remember having an out of... The reason I say out of body experience because I remember seeing myself laying there on the couch. And it's not that I'm reliving it, so I'm kind of like imagining it. I do remember seeing myself laying on the couch, and I'm like, that ain't right. I remember thinking, I'm literally 4 years old. I'm like, that ain't right. I knew it was me. I recognized it was me, and I'm like, something's not right. But there was like, it was almost like a secondary version of me. Like my body was there, but my mind, my soul, whatever you want to call it, was outside. So it was like there was two versions of me, and I'm like, I know that's me, and I know something's wrong. But I'm here now, and I feel okay. So it's like, okay, whatever. And something happened, and I can't recall what. There was something, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I was in the living room, and then, like, disembodied in the living room, and then I wasn't. And I remember there being darkness. And literally, like a pinpoint prick of light, almost like a tunnel, far, far away. And all of a sudden, it started to get brighter. And it was like, this darkness was really creepy. It was just, like, thick. It was, like, almost alive. It was like, imagine if you felt like in an oil vat. It's like all over you. It's not greasy and shit, but it was just more like it was. It'd be like falling in a snowbank, and the snow just kind of engulfs you. It's like it just surrounds you. It was like that, and it was. And I do remember, the light going toward the light, going into the light. And again, I don't want to go much deeper than that because I don't know how much of it is me making it up after the fact now. Because it's like, I remember what I remember, and then it's like, almost like I'm trying to put the pieces together and be like, oh yeah, I heard other people talk about this, so let me talk about that too. I don't want to get into that. But something did happen. Something like some people, they have near death experience, and that they claim they go to hell and hear screams and demons and shit. Before the light appeared, there was something very ominous there. There was something very not cool there. I don't want to go into, because again, I don't want to be ad-libbing and like oh, it's like monsters and demons and I don't want to get into all that stuff because I was very uneasy and I felt like something was after me. It was that kind of darkness. Okay, it was like, and all of a sudden there was this light, this little pinpoint prick. So like a little tiny pinpoint prick, almost like you see like one of those tears in reality in like a movie or something, and it's got the glow around it. It was kind of like that, and it kept getting bigger, and I was like, going toward it, and I was like scurrying toward, like, get the fuck out of here, kind of a thing, and it lit. Now I'm probably kind of ad-libbing, but it was almost like one of those things where like something's like clawing at you, like getting at you. That's what it felt like. Like I wanted to go very fast toward this, like get out of this area. But again, I don't want to add to it and like twist it and be like, oh, there's a monster in there. I don't know what it was. There was something and it wasn't cool. It was there was a bad vibe, at least. There was at least the bad vibe. Whether there was actually an entity in there, Satan, demons, whatever, I don't know. But it was a bad fucking place. not not someplace you want to go. And the only thing you see is that light, and you're like, shit, gotta go there. There's light. It's like it's like that life raft. It's like you've got to get to that sumbitch, or the Titanic's gonna sink and you're all dead. You know, your balls are frozen as shit, and your dick fell off. But that's how cold the water is. But no, it's like you need that life raft. If you've got any, and it almost felt like, and I feel like I'm stretching when I say this. It felt like somebody reached out and took me, and like took me from that place. And again, I don't want to ad lib, and I feel like I might be doing that when I say that, but that's what it felt like. It was like I was, like, actually, I don't even know if it was like I was running toward the light. I don't even feel like I was. It felt like the light was getting closer to me. It's what it felt like. Like I'm in this dark room. It feels like there's like things watching me, and like they're like it had that vibe. It was just very creepy. Like what the fuck? Okay, and then a little pinpoint prick, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was like it felt like it was coming to me. Like I wasn't going toward it; it was coming to me, and then it literally felt like somebody reached in with their hand and grabbed me, and pulled me out of that place. And again, I don't. I feel like I'm ad-libbing. I feel like I can't. I was 3 years old. You know what I mean? It's like. But the one thing I do remember is after that. I remember you. This is a fact. This was not. No. I know. I know what I know. When I know what I know. I was in this place. I don't even know how to describe this place. I don't even know how to. It felt like I was like in Holland, like if somebody took Holland and just shoved it up your ass. That's what it felt like. It was just this grassy green hills and rainbows and Care Bears and bullshit. It was just one of those like, like you literally feel like the Lollipop Guild's gonna run by and kick you in the dick. It literally felt like that kind of like little. It was whimsical, I guess would be a good word. But it was more than that. It was a very. I don't want to say comical. I don't mean it comical, but it was very. I don't know. I can't even. It looked like one of those freaking Windows XP kind of screensavers. Like you see the Vista one, where you see like the field. It's stupid shit like that. That's what it felt like. But it felt to me, and I don't know what this is about. It felt like it was segmented. Like it wasn't a full embodied area, but it was like, okay, there's this little section. Think of like a floating island. That's actually a good way to describe it. But it wasn't floating island. It felt more like. Imagine if you're looking at a bigger picture and you've got like a piece of Swiss cheese in front of you and you're kind of looking through the holes. That's kind of what it was like in certain areas. Like it wasn't completely filled in. I don't know. I don't know if that is the right way to even describe it. It felt tangible, like it was there, but it almost felt like there was something. I guess you could almost say, like when Christ said, "I'm going to prepare a place for you." Like it almost felt like it was being not created, but it was coming into fruition. It was becoming something, and it was like sections, and then the further we went in, it was more structured. It was more like there. I can't describe that properly, and I don't think there's any way to describe, because it's one of those things. I'm not sure what I saw exactly. It's almost like you're reading the Bible, and let's say they did see a ship flying overhead, like chariots in the sky. Like what the hell does that mean? it's one of those things where you're trying to describe something in your terminology when you don't really know what it was you saw. Like, if I go outside and I see a plane, oh, a plane flew over my house. You go back Old Testament times, it's like, what the hell is that? you know, a shooting star, a fire from the heaven, chariot of fire in heaven. It's like, what? It felt like one of those things, and it was like there were people, and they felt it felt like the people that were working in these little areas, these little, I almost want to say mini islands, like these mini floating islands. But it wasn't floating islands. It was more like depth. Like, I'm standing here, and 5 feet in front of me, there's like this floating area. It's like it's not totally. I can't describe it. Damn it. In other words, we think of like floating islands, like, okay, we got the ground and we got something above us. This was, instead of horizontal, it was more vertical. It was like depth in this world was very different. It's like it was almost like I was seeing. Now I'm stretching. Almost like you could see windows into like alternate realities, but yet it was all one place. That's actually a good way to describe that, believe it or not. That's what it felt like. It was like, okay, we're here on solid ground, and 5 feet in front of me, there's like this misty area, and I can see this almost circular, it felt like, and there's this grassy little knoll, this grassy little area, somebody there, and it's kind of like their own little mini universe, but yet they're still here. So it's like they could be here in any second, because it felt like they were doing their own thing, and they were oblivious to us. It's like they were there, but they weren't, and they were oblivious to us. Me and the person that I was with, the person who I felt grabbed me out of that place, which I'll get into in a minute, which I talked about numerous times, so if you know the story, you know what I'm going with. But the place felt very, it was tangible but intangible. Oh my god, I wish I had fucking words. I wish the words were there. And again, I don't know how much of it, I don't know. It could have been a stupid dream. I don't, it could have been a fever dream. I don't know. But I had what I believe to be a near-death experience, because I had stopped breathing, and listening to other people have near-death experience, I'm like, holy crap, that's very similar to what I had. And anyways, so I was with this dude. I mean, there's no other way to describe. Like, picture the dude from Big Lebowski. The dude. He's in the robe. He's literally in his bathrobe. Got the beard and the long hair. Not, it wasn't super long, but it was, long enough. It was longer than, like, cut like a little bitch, like you'd see in your typical church. Scruffy, I guess you could say, would be a good word. If I don't know. I mean, I could be adding to as well. I want to be I want to be as transparent as I can about that, because maybe I'm just reflecting into that. I don't know. Whatever. But the weird thing was, being 3 years old. I mean, how tall is a 3-year-old? Not very tall. Definitely not what, 4 feet, 3 feet, if that. This guy felt like he was like 15 feet. But now I'm kind of relating it to like how tall I am now, almost 6 feet. So it's like maybe he was closer to 7. And I was like 3, whatever. It felt like he was very tall, like really tall, very lanky, very tall. And he didn't have like broad shoulders. Like, I have broad shoulders. I have thick, broad shoulders, like football player broad shoulders. His shoulders were very, like, narrow, but very, I don't know. It's like I don't know. I can't really describe it. And I remember I was being led around, and he was showing me around, and I wish I had paid more attention, because I remember looking down at the ground at like where our feet was. I don't remember seeing my feet. It was almost like, imagine if you had your legs cut off and you had like have this like little mist of cloud underneath you, like you're riding a cloud, like Lakitu from Mario, where he's in the little cloud and he's throwing the shit out at you. It, it's kind of like that. I'm not saying it was cloud under my feet, but it was more like, I don't remember seeing my feet. Like I don't remember seeing feet. You know what I mean? But I remember seeing like the ground. It was just, regular ground, a little bit of a almost cobblestone pathway. Almost, it felt like. Um, there was grass. It was green grass, blue sky. It was all the basic stuff you'd see. And it literally looked like something out of a painting. Um, and as we were going along, somebody came up to us, and I don't remember, because I'm going to either it. I didn't pay attention, is what the problem was. So either the person came up to me and was talking to this person that was guiding me, and they're very excited to see each other. Oh, hi, how you doing? He's like, hey, how you doing? It was one of those things, and I remember, like, he introduced me to the person, and this is where I'm not sure if I'm ad libbing to the story, but the person was like really super happy to see me. And I almost want to say they were like, "Oh, hi, I'm your aunt so and so, or I'm your cousin so and so, or something to that effect, or I'm a resident here. I'm really happy to see you." It was one of those things where it felt really like I don't know this person, but it was almost like I'm your great aunt from like 100 years ago, kind of a deal. That's kind of what it felt like, but I don't remember there being like an actual relation. So it may have been more along the lines of like, oh, I live here and it's really nice to see you. And yeah, it was one of those things where it was really like sappy and nice, and it's just, it makes me want to vomit now, but I'm being sarcastic, but that's what it felt like. Because I remember thinking while we were going through this, it's like I almost felt like it was heaven, but I didn't really know heaven. Like I didn't know what heaven was. But I remember thinking to myself, I don't really recognize anybody here. Like nobody, other than this one particular person, nobody like close to me that I knew or knew of came to us. And I found that odd. So for some reason, I want to say the person that we engaged with was possibly a relative or somebody who was just there. I can't I can't remember which. But either way, it was just one of those really happy to meet you, cordial. Like if you go into a new church and there's always that red faced guy. He's, oh, let me shake your hand. How you doing, buddy? All of that bullshit. But for some reason, I want to say the person. The reason I say that I think, because the reason that I say I think the person may have been related, like great somebody from 100 years ago or longer, or even like generation past, whatever, is that at that moment I was thinking I don't recognize this person. It's like I'm supposed to know this person, but I don't recognize them. That's how it felt. And I was looking around. Now I don't remember anything like behind me. Everything was in front of me, so I don't. It almost felt like there was a black void behind me. Like I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It felt like a three-dimensional space, but it was more. I see stuff in front of me, and I don't remember anything back. There had to be. It must have been, but I'm not gonna speculate on that. And the person came up to me, and the moment the person came up to me, I was thinking I don't recognize this person. Now I don't know if it was because this person is like really happy and they act like they know me, or if they were claiming to be relative, and I'm like, I don't know who this person is. So again, I don't know if it was relative or not. If you get what I'm saying. So I'll just leave it at that. Anyways, as we were going forward, again, in this really nice little grassy area, we come to this. I swear to God, it felt like a temple. It felt like one of those Roman architecture with the pillars and the it's like it almost. Now, granted, I was a child, so it almost felt like they just ascended into the heavens, like there was no end to them. That may or may not be true because again, I was a kid. I'm kind of looking up, and it's like, oh, it just feels like they go forever. It may have been that way. It may not have been that way. I don't know. And we went into this temple, and again, I'm behind this particular person, and he was talking to me, and I do not remember what he said, and I really wish I did. I really, honest to God, wish I had remembered what he was saying, because he was just kind of nonchalantly talking, and it's like, you know, and I felt there's love, and it was like, this person legitimately gives a damn about me. Like, this person cares about me. This person loves me. Would do anything for me. I don't know who this person is, but he's a really cool dude. You know, he's showing me around this place, and I'm like, okay, cool. Again, I'm 3 years old, so it's like, but it was weird because it was like that was probably the most behaved that I've ever been, like ever in my life. And I remember I was kind of bored actually. I remember kind of like kicking at the ground, so to speak, but like I don't remember seeing a foot though. That's the weird thing. There may have been, but it's like I just remember kind of like poking at it, you know, just because there was one time I don't know if I was sitting, but I felt like I was sitting behind him, like just sitting on the ground, and I was just kind of like, you know, scrouching on the, just kind of like nonchalantly scratching on the floor, or just kind of poking at the floor. And that's when we got inside this building, and it was the weirdest thing. It almost felt like a library, like it had that like mystique about it, where it's like it's almost like quiet, but it's like you speak and your voice is like words, it's like echoes and booms, and you know it's one of those things. And I remember the guy that was leading me with the broad, not super broad, not like me, but wide. They were wide enough shoulders. He told me he didn't even, I don't think he, I don't in fact I know he didn't even look back. He did basically said, you know, just stay behind me and don't look, basically is what it was. That was the vibe I got, and it was just like, you know, this is a big deal. You've got to listen to me. Don't don't deviate from what I'm saying. So I was like, okay, whatever. Again, I was bored. I remember being bored. I was in heaven. I was apparently in heaven, and I was bored. Okay, it's whatever. And there was this light, this legitimate freaking light, this like beaming, boisterous light. And, and I remember because I'm behind. You can understand. It was like this person that I was with like a billboard. He was like blocking my view. He was blocking this bright light. Like I felt that if I looked at that light, my eyes would just melt in my face. That's how bright it was, and you could literally see the outline and just the glow. And it's almost like the light was physical, and it just like engulfed around him. And his shadow was the only thing protecting me. Like imagine if the sun just like you see in those movies, like when the bomb goes off, and then the person just melts to the back of the wall. It's kind of one of those things, except the person wasn't melting. He was like, you know, steadfast, if you will. He was just like, and I was in the shadow of it, and it was just like there's this one level in Destiny that actually describes that perfectly, where you're out on this ship, and it's by the sun, and the beams, and you have to stay in the shadows. It was very similar to that. And I remember whatever was causing this light felt like a judge, felt like somebody who's in authority, somebody who was basically somebody you don't mess with. You know, like it was his place, and he ain't gonna listen, you know. And I remember him saying, "Why is he here?" Referring to me, and I knew it was referring to me. There were other things going on. I could tell other things were going on. People were outside doing their things, and it was just whatever was in this light said, "Why is he here?" And the guy that I was with said, "No, actually, he said, why is he here? He's not supposed to be here." And the person I was with basically said, "Because I want him to be." And then the person in the light was like, "Okay." Like it completely went 180. It was like Why is he here? He's a piece of shit. Get him the fuck out of here. He's not supposed to be here. And then he's like, well, I want him here. What? And then it was just literally, like I said, a 180. He's like, oh, okay, well, whatever, but it's not his time. And I remember that fuck, oh my God, dude, I remember that term. It's not his time. He's not supposed to be here, and it's not his time. It's like, okay, he can come, but he's not supposed to be here now. And I remember it was like something you see out of a movie. It was so creepy. The guy that was in front of me turned, like literally looked over his shoulder, looked down at me over his shoulder, and was like, okay, time to go. And I woke up, and it was, holy crap. And I'm telling you, for weeks, months, maybe even a couple years, at least a year after that, I felt that I was having conversation with this dude. Still. Like, I was, back to normal, and my mother was like all frantic, oh my God, he's not breathing, and blah, blah, blah. She rushed me to the emergency room, the whole nine. Anyways, when I got back, I literally felt like this dude was with me. Like, there was somebody with me, like, in the room with me. At all times. Like, watching over me. I don't want to say Jesus, but it felt more like what people would refer to as a guardian angel. But I don't see why Jesus couldn't have the same effect. So, I'm not going to say it was one or the other, but it felt like a guardian angel, but it looked like Jesus, if you get what I mean. So, it was that kind of thing. And based upon the discussion that they had, it makes me want to think it was Jesus, especially later in life when I learn about a lot of that stuff, But I remember as a kid, that is exactly what happened, though. That was the exact conversation. Why is he here? He's not supposed to be here. I want him here. Well, okay, but it's not his time. Okay, time to go. That was the conversation. I wished I had paid attention to the other stuff, because they argued for a while. Not even really argued, but they kind of went back and forth like, and they started debating. I didn't talk about this. They started debating like my worth. Like, he's bad. He does this, he does that. I don't know. And then it finally ended with, well, you know what? I want him here. How about that? It was kind of like, how about that, Let's just end it with... No, I don't know. I mean, it could have been, like a judgmental thing where, like, Satan was there accusing the brethren. I don't know. It could have been something to that effect, too. I don't... But the light was there. There was this bright freaking light. I mean, maybe it was Satan, and it was Christ, and he was like, hey, I want him here. He's like, all right, well, now it's not his time, so send him home. But it didn't feel like that, because the person who was judging, or doing I say judging, because that's what it felt like. It felt like the person doing the judging was not even wrongly accusing me. So again, it could have been, but it felt like they were bringing up my past and be like, well, he's this, he's that. Maybe it was, I don't know, maybe it wasn't God. Maybe God was there, but it wasn't like, maybe God was the light, but it was like, I don't know, that would have been kind of weird too. I never even thought of that. I never even thought of it that way. I always assumed it was like Jesus talking to God, but maybe it wasn't even God at the time. Maybe it was Lucifer shit. Accusing the brethren and shit, and then Christ is like, you know what? I'm not going to listen to that. Because that's the vibe. It was like, I'm not listening to that. I don't care about all that. I want him here, that's it. And the other person's like, alright, fine, but he's not supposed to be here now. And it was just 180, and it was like, the case was closed. That was it. I don't know, man. Although maybe there could have been two there. Maybe it was, I don't know. Maybe there was... Now I'm ad-libbing, because now I'm trying to, because I never really thought of it that way. Maybe the judge that I felt, the person that was creating the light, wasn't the one. I always felt that he was the one, chastising me in a way. Like, I don't know why God would do that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was Satan. Maybe Satan, he's not supposed to be here, he's a son of a bitch, he's a sinner, he's done all this awful, horrible stuff. Because that motherfucker was definitely going over stuff that I had done. definitely gone over stuff I was doing. So maybe there was like a three-way thing because I couldn't see past him. So it was like, there could have been multiple. It did feel like there was multiple people in the room, but it felt like it was more like God because it was all you saw was the light. So maybe I was. I don't know. I'm kind of. I don't. Now I'm getting into speculation and stuff. I never really thought of it that way. I honestly, for this long, I never thought of it that way. And I couldn't tell you if it was the same voice or the same. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was two different people. Maybe the light was, maybe God was just sitting there silently watching this whole thing, and the conversation was with. Yeah, I don't know. I never even thought of that. But anyways, like I said, I don't want to speculate on that because then I start ad-libbing and started making my own story and my own narrative of that. But the conversation was what the conversation was. And like I said, the one dude speaking was basically coming at me. He's coming at me. He's like, he's done this, he's done that. Now I was 3 years old. I don't know how much sin I could have done. How much wicked stuff. There was a good number of stuff though. No, not trying to add into this, but I don't remember because like I said, I was bored and I was like, I knew the person was not a fan of mine. Okay, I knew the person who was saying all this stuff was not my friend. He was not helpful, but there was the light, so it felt like it was God. So it was like, was it just God saying, okay, he's not supposed to be here? And I don't know. I don't know that now that I think about it. Because, like I said, they were. Now, again, I don't want to add to this, but the laundry list of stuff that he said, I don't know if it was like future tense, like he's a fornicator or he lusted after women. I don't remember if it was stuff like that. Obviously, 3 years old, he ain't lusting after women. I can't remember. That's the thing. But it went on for a while, so it's like, how does a 3-year-old have that much, like, oh, he made his mother cry because he farted in her face, or something like that. I mean, yeah, you could understand that. you know, okay, so he pooped his diaper. Okay, but there's only so much a 3-year-old can do. You know what I'm saying? So for it to go on as long as it did, like I said, I really wish I had paid attention. Because I remember it was almost like there was like this cobblestone granite floor. I remember I was just kind of sitting there, and there was this, like I said, there was light beaming past the dude's shoulders, and it was like I was in his shadow, and I wasn't allowed to see any of the stuff. And I didn't want to see any of the stuff. That was the weird thing, but I heard the conversation. He's looking forward, and he's talking to these people, and it was like, Again, at 3 years old, you can't have that much Christian indoctrination at 3. I'm sorry, you just can't. So even if I was watching, Oral Roberts or whoever the hell it was back in the day, even if we were watching that shit every Sunday morning, there's not that much Christian indoctrination that a 3-year-old's going to pick up on some of those key elements. Like, oh, there's a light. I'm in a dark room, or dark, not room. It was more like a space. It was a big space. I'm in this dark space and I'm going toward the light. I mean, how does a fucking 3-year-old know go toward the light? Yeah, it's a joke, like, Carol Ann, go toward the light. That bullshit, Carol Ann and bullshit, okay? Yeah. It became kind of a meme, go toward the light, but 3-year-old in 1980 is not going to know what a meme is or what the hell that stuff is. So it's like, where did that come from? The idea that there's this guy who, thinking about it now, I would say it was either a high-ranking angel or it was Jesus. Just, no, it was never said, hey, how you doing? I'm Jesus. Nice to meet you. It was never one of those things. That's why I question the concept of it. So, I believe it was Jesus. I feel in my heart that it was Jesus. Because, especially the conversation of, well, I want him here. And then it was just like, okay. Because that was the thing. The one who was going down the laundry list of stuff that I had done wrong, evil in the world, The person that I was with, and I keep saying person because I don't want, I don't feel comfortable saying, oh, yes, it was absolutely Jesus Christ. I, I, I don't want to say that. It may have been. It could very well have been. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just going to say, I'm just going to leave it open ended. The person that I was with, the being that I was with, was listening to all this. And he's like, okay, yeah, all right. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, you know what? I want him here, so fuck you. That's basically what he said. Now, obviously he didn't say fuck you, but you get my point. In fact, now that I'm even thinking about it, I am totally ad-libbing into this. But the one who said, okay, no, that's fine, but he's not supposed to be here. That even may have been another person. Because again, there were multiple people in the room. And I couldn't see them. So it's like you had a picture. You're sitting there blindfolded, and like 5 different people are speaking. It's almost like one of those. I'm trying to think. It's kind of like that scene in Superman. I don't remember if you remember that, where they're judging General Zod, and you got like these heads, these big heads, and they're just these. That's kind of what it felt like. It was that kind of like open room, void. This just like other dimensional room almost. Like it's just this. It feels like you're in another time and space, and there's like, it's just one of those things. And so again, I don't know. But all right, what does the Bible say? Because this goes back to my previous clip. So what does the Bible actually say about death? You got a couple different accounts. You got Christ on the cross. He was crucified between two evil people, two wrongdoers, and one of which said, remember me, Lord, in your kingdom. And he's like, on this day you will be in paradise with me. Now, you take that you take that into an account, and then you throw in the parable or story or whatever you want to call it of Lazarus and the rich man, and which is actually a very interesting story. And White Cross did a really good song about it, by the way. But whatever. No second chances. Essentially, the rich man died. He went to torment. A place, I'm assuming, called torment. Hades. Not hell, Hades. Where he's being tormented. Lazarus, who was a beggar, who didn't have all the money, who didn't have all the great, wonderful grandiosities. He was sores, and dogs were looking at his balls because he had sores and stuff, and it is what it is. He was ushered into paradise with Abraham at Abraham's side. And the rich man saw this, and he's like, hey, Father Abraham, please help me. He's like, I can't help you. You basically made your bed and you shit in it, and you're stuck there. And he's like, well, can you at least go tell my 5 brothers? And he's like, no, we can't send somebody to go tell your 5 brothers, because your 5 brothers are not going to listen to the dead guy. Dead guy just shows up at their house, he ain't going to listen to him. If he didn't listen to, Abraham and Moses and all the other people, he ain't going to listen to some dead guy. And of course it goes, earlier it was like, the rich guy's like, oh, could you dip your finger in some water and, just give me a drop of water? And he's like, you can't, because there's a chasm, a void, or whatever you want to call it, in between. The weird thing is, they can still have a conversation, though. And every picture that I've ever seen, it's one of two ways. It's either the good guys are all white, angelic at the top, there's this black void in the middle, and there's this red, fiery, at the bottom. Or you got left to right with the void in the middle. I gotta think, what if it's not like that? What if they're literally in the same plane of existence? What if they're like 2 feet from each other? Like you're in a room with somebody, like right there. But their experience is one way, and the other person's experience is the other. And there literally is a void between them. I mean, think about waves and particles. Think about if their waves were 180 degrees outside of the other person's. you would have literally one dimension and then another dimension, and they could actually coexist in the same space. And I mean the same space, but like the same. In other words, it's not like, oh, this is our area, and you go to your area. What if it's literally the same area? Like think about taking two pieces of paper and overlapping them, almost like two pieces of tracing paper, and you overlap them, and it's the same area. It's the same, part of the picture, but it's showing you two different things. I don't know. I don't know about any of that. I'm speculating on that. But they were obviously close enough where they could speak to each other. This void, this veil, or whatever it was between the two, where they couldn't cross over, but yet they could still communicate. That was weird. That's weird to me. So, because I saw this on Facebook just today. Somebody posted, and I don't know what the hell it was. It was very corny, very cheesy, and stupid. It was like, oh, I'm going to post this picture of a rose for my mother who's in heaven. Who's dead and in heaven. The problem is, and they told us that if you die, you go to heaven. Your mother died, the old woman died, she's in heaven with Jesus. The fact is, she's not in heaven with Jesus. She's not. She's in paradise, whatever that is. That's not heaven. That's not heaven. It's not. There's literally 3 different places. 4 if you count Earth. There's 4 different places. 5 if you count hell. There's like holding areas in between. Because the rich man, he was not in hell, he was in Hades. He was in torment. I'm assuming that was the name of it. He was in torment. The place was called torment. And the other place was called paradise. Not heaven, paradise. So, when we die, we go to this holding area, essentially. So, all these people want to say, oh, your mother's with Jesus right now. No, she's not. Jesus is not there. Jesus is not in paradise. He is in heaven. Why? Because after he rose from the dead, he mingled among the people for what, 40 days, I think it was? And then he ascended. He ascended into heaven, which he then became enthroned, and all glory was given to him. So he's in heaven with God, while everybody else is in the holding area. Now, I don't know how far away the holding area is from heaven itself, the gates and the whole how do you do. I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. But I do know that they're 2 different places. As is Hades / torment. It's in 2 different places. They're different places. Now, again, I would argue, what if torment and paradise are in the same location, just different, vibe, literally different, like dimensions from one another. Because again, they can speak to each other clearly from that story. Now you can say, well, it's just a parable or whatever, but they could speak to each other. And if it's any truth to that, and we have to assume there's at least some. I mean, it is the Bible. You can sit there and say, well, blah blah blah, but let's assume there's some truth to that, because even Christ said some different stuff later on, or before he was crucified, about stuff, and it was just like he said, where I go, you cannot come with me, and that was the ascension. But he did say to the person on the cross, you will be in paradise with me this day. And then there's the whole keys of hell and death and all that stuff, and he went into the abyss and all that stuff, and he basically was shot out of that and was, resurrected. He literally had a rapture. And my theory had always been, again, I don't want to say theory because that's not the right word. I'm not theorizing new doctrine. I'm just, what if? What if the rapture happened when he ascended? He ascended into the clouds, because it's interesting the way it's worded. The whole thing is interesting the way it's worded. He, with the disciples, and it was, women and children and whatnot, I assume, they all kind of went with him outside the city, and he goes, he ascends into the heavens. The minute he hits the clouds, there's 2 At least two. I assume it's two. I think it said two. There may have been more, but there's at least two in question. Angelic beings, well, angels. I don't know what they were. Assume they were angels. They're looking down at the people and they're like, "Why are you looking up here? He ain't here. He ain't here." Which means the minute he hit the clouds, he was outside of time. The whole thing about the time that I was referring to earlier in my other clips. Because the minute that happens, what if that was the rapture? Because, again, the minute he hits the clouds, he literally disappeared. He was not there. He was gone. He went to a different plane of existence. He was outside of time. And then the two angels, I assume they were angels, looked and said, again, "Why are you looking up here? You know, what's your problem, basically? What are you doing?" Is what they said. And at that moment, what if that was the rapture? And that people who died in the future, again, they died, they're outside of time because they're not held by the restraint of the physical body. They instantly get teleported. I use that word loosely, but they get sent to that moment. Because I find it odd that Christ would be enthroned and we don't get to see that. Now, okay, maybe those who are dead get to see that. But if you're talking in a chronological order with time, right now, we don't get to see that. That's already happened. And as I stated in the other numerous clips, the Bible says we are currently seated in heavenly places, yet I'm not currently seated in a heavenly place. So if I am currently seated in heavenly places, that means everything that's happened has already happened. God does know the end from the beginning because it's already happened. Time is tricky when you're not, in the time stream. In the time stream, it's second by second by second by second, and then, moment by moment, event by event. If you're outside of time, and if time, and I don't know, for some reason I'm very adamant about this, because I think time and space, in and of itself, is a working, functional thing where it coexists with itself at every given second. Every event that has happened, is happening, and will continue to happen. In other words, it's all there. It doesn't just happen and then disappear. And like all these people, like, "Oh, what if we time traveled and went back and changed something?" I don't think you can change something. I don't think there is a grandfather paradox. I think time, even in the time stream that we know, the way we know it from a human perspective, even if you went back, killed your grandfather, guess what? The second later, he's still there. Because it's like a movie strip. You could cut out one little frame, the rest of the movie's still there. Now, okay, if you took two things and tried to tape it and then you try to flap it around the little projector, would it still play? Like, could it just go off the rails? Like, in other words, could, like, the entire universe just implode? Possibly. Possibly. It is not out of the realm of possibility that if you went back, killed your grandfather, that one specific second that you killed him, he's dead, it could cause a paradox. Or at least an implosion where we all die. But that next second, he's there. Because I've always said this, I honestly believe that matter matters. So, yeah, if I went back and killed my grandfather, I would still exist. How? I don't know. That would be the paradox. Because again, matter matters. Once matter has formed, it is real. It is viable. It's something that just you can't take away because of the simple fact that time, I don't think, works that way. Again, we're looking at it from our point of view. We're looking at it from being inside the time stream itself, where it's moment by moment. What if we went back and changed one of those moments? Then we go off into a splinter universe, into a alternate reality. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if that's the thing. I don't even know. First off, I don't even know if you could go back in time. I do think we could send information back in time. And I've said this before, maybe molecules or atoms or some variant thereof. Like we could possibly do some sort of well, what the hell do you call that? Crap, I'm blanking out on it. What the hell is it called? Quantum thing. Where you send like some sort of little atom back or a little molecule back or whatever it is. and then it does one thing and it affects another thing and it affects something in the past. You could maybe have that happen. I don't know. You might be able to send digital information back, but again, if there's no way to play the digital information, is it really viable? I mean, realize there could be an MP3 back in the dinosaur days that explained the entire universe. But we don't know because we don't have any way to play it. Think about that. So again, time to me is tricky. Because I don't know. If time is consistent even outside of the time stream, like in heaven with God or whatever, then I think that may actually cause problems too. Because again, we're looking at it from point A to point B to point C. So Adam died, let's say 10,000 years ago, whatever. It's a nice round number, let's say 10,000 years ago. So he's been poking around in this paradise area for 10,000 years, give or take, minus his actual age. 900 years, whatever. So 900 years just shy of 10,000, whatever it is. So he's been poking around for 10,000 years. Really? I don't know about that. Now, it says eternity. What is eternity? Eternity outside of time is just that. It's eternity. There is no time. So I believe that 99% of the stuff needs to be taken with the concept of no time. We're looking at it as it has to happen here, it has to happen there, it has to do this, and it has to do that. In other words, there has to be a rapture in the future because the rapture hasn't happened. What if the rapture did happen? The rapture could have happened. Now, I don't know. That's weird. I just saw a flash in the room. That's weird. There's this little bloop, and I was like, what the fuck? I don't need that shit. Whatever. That was weird. Orbs and shit, probably. Demons and shit and whatnot. I ain't got time for that stuff. Rebuke that shit. In the name of Jesus, get the fuck out. Okay, ain't none of that shit. I don't care what it is. Especially when the dog messed over there. He pooped out there. I gotta get up. When I get up, I gotta clean it. And I don't really need, whatever. Let's not get into that. But what if that happened at that moment? Because everything that they say is supposed to happen before the rapture. Or before the second coming, rather. Did technically happen when Christ died. The moon turned to blood. The sun didn't give its light. There was an earthquake. There was this, I don't want to say manufactured, but this non-normal event that happened that caused the sun not to give its light. There are multiple historical accounts. People who weren't even Christians, people who were actually disproving Christ, actually said, yeah, it was an eclipse. There was an eclipse during that time. There was no eclipse. There could be no eclipse because the time that it happened, it just couldn't. So something else happened. And it was a pretty big deal. The dead in Christ did rise when he died. The tombs basically gave up the ghost, essentially. The people who had just died came back. It's like, now, was that a collective? Now, here's the thing. And even if my idea is completely off, and I'm not even saying it's even right, I'm not even saying there's even truth to it, I'm just saying, let's ponder a crazy idea. It's basically what I'm doing. What if, and again, we don't know, because when you read the verse, it says the dead in Christ will rise, and then the rest of us will be called up. Well, let's look at what happened when Christ died. The dead in Christ rose up. The Bible does not say a time frame that I know of, unless it's in another verse in another book somewhere else, which could be the case, and I'm not saying I'm a Bible scholar, so I can't tell you that. But again, what if there's 1,000 years between that? What if there's 2,000 years between that? What if there's 100 million years between the dead in Christ will rise and then the rest will be called up? We assume it's kind of back to back, like, oh, this will happen, and oh, we're next. But we don't know how long that takes. That could be, I don't know, maybe it's 40 days, maybe, or however long it was Christ was mulling around on earth after he rose from the dead. I mean, think about that. What if the rapture happened when he ascended? Because I find it very odd that you're going to have this coronation of Christ becoming enthroned and glory and power and all that stuff, and we're not there to see it. That just seems weird to me. That doesn't seem like the conquering king. Where's the conquering king if his subjects aren't there? Because the way that it says, you die, you go to this holding area. Now, whether the people in the holding area can see it, whether they were privy to it, I don't know, but they weren't allowed into heaven. They're not in heaven. They're in this holding area. The people who were in hell, same thing. I assume they could see it. I don't know. Or not hell, but Hades, I should say. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But then if you actually read it, there is going to be one giant rapture, essentially, that everyone is going to raise from the dead. First, the dead in Christ, and then the rest of us. And then everybody else who was not Christian. Then they're going to be all thrown into the pit of hell. So, what if it was the end of days? What if, again, I want to say what if, because what if the rapture doesn't happen the way we want it to happen? And I've gone into this numerous times. Why is God going to rapture the church when Christ said, he said two things, and I went over this before, I'm going to do it for the sake of this clip. Christ said two things. His prayer was very simple. He prayed to God that we would not be delivered from the evil one, but that we would be protected from the evil one. So in other words, why is he going to come and rapture us when he's praying that we are not delivered, we're not taken out of the situation? He prayed that we would not be taken out of the situation. But yeah, oh, we're going to be raptured. Dun, 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 dun. I don't get that. I don't understand that. And that's one of the things he said. I'm not going to go into the second one because I went into it in the other clip. And whatever. Cause I don't want to. This is already an hour long, dude. I wanted to make this for 30 minutes, man. I did 3 hours last night. I did an hour tonight. I did, I think, 2 hours the night before. These clips are going crazy. They're absolutely insane. And I'm not, again, I want to just point out, just for the sake of argument, that I'm not trying to take this idea and try to just shoehorn Bible verses into it and be like, oh, there's some truth here. I'm not saying there's truth. I'm not even, I'll even go on the limb and say it's not true. Because the idea that some idiot figured out this magical thing and all these Bible scholars from like thousands of years couldn't, they didn't figure it out, but yeah, I did. So again, I'm not saying that. But I do really think we should live our life as if the freaking rapture, the pre-tribulation rapture, is not going to happen. Because if it, for some reason, doesn't, because again, no man knows the time nor the hour, and if it doesn't happen, then guess what? You're going to have some really, really upset Christians when they're like, uh-oh, I was wrong. All hell just broke loose on earth. Honestly, God, I could see born-again Christians living through the tribulation, not even realizing it, and then getting to the great tribulation where some scumbag like Trump comes out of the temple. Dude, they actually have him on a freaking temple coin. They have, the back has the temple, and on the front there's Cyrus, in front of him is Trump. If that's not blasphemy, I don't know what is. I don't know, man. And I'm sorry, I don't see what they see in him, and I'm not getting into a Donald Trump discussion. I have refused to do it. I just don't see what these people see, these evangelical knuckleheads. I don't see why. The problem is they need him to be a Christian because they need him for a scapegoat. They need the Christian scapegoat. They couldn't vote for Mitt Romney because he was a Mormon, and it's a fact. They could not vote for him. They simply couldn't vote for him because of that. They wanted to. They didn't want to vote for Obama. No, because he's the black socialist. We want to vote for the rich white man because we're scumbag assholes who really don't put the Bible into practice, don't put the faith into practice because we're a bunch of scumbags and we want to, huckle down with the freaking Republicans because all those evil liberals are going to destroy America. Yet your buddy Trump, who's actually fulfilling, supposedly, in your own words, fulfilling Bible prophecy of end days. Do you hear the words that you fuckers are speaking? He is fulfilling prophecy of end times shit. And you're like, oh, praise Jesus. But those liberals are going to destroy America. What? What? If anything, if you're a Christian, you should vote Democrat. You should vote liberal because you want America to be destroyed. Because guess what? The minute it's destroyed, dun 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 dun, your savior has to come back. You moron! If that's your end goal, to watch the world burn so that Jesus comes back, which I could understand. Listen, as a Christian, I could understand it, but these people don't care about all that. They want the Republican bullshit. They want it to make sense. They want it all to be in this nice little bow, and we are Republicans, and even though the Republicans do horrible, god-awful, fucking nasty things, and just, not that the liberals don't, but the Christians do, yeah. And I've said it before, the first 2 years of Trump's administration, born-again evangelical Christians were making excuses for his past. Okay, fine. Fine. If he was saved, fine, his past is no more. They even admitted he never said with his mouth that Christ is Lord and that he needs Jesus for salvation and that he is a sinner. They never once said that. He said that. Again. Dobson comes out. He says, well, Trump had, a nice religious experience. He didn't really understand what we were saying because he's a baby Christian, but he was pretty close. That's what he said. How much religious experience do you need? Are you a sinner? Do you believe in Jesus? And do you believe that Jesus is God and that he died for your sins on the cross? And do you want the Holy Spirit to live inside you to make you a better person? What else is there to do? Okay, you don't really understand all the hocus pocus. Okay, I could maybe understand it. But do you want God to forgive you? Yes or no? What Trump say? Well, I don't really bring God into that. Then who the fuck else is going to forgive you of your sins, you moron? You idiot. Well, I don't really bring God into that. Why not? Who else would you bring into it? Who else? The Russians? You going to bring the Russians in it, you fucking moron? I mean, it's not hard. I might be a scumbag son of a bitch who says the F word all the time, but I can admit it. I need the Holy Spirit to live inside me. And yeah, I probably do grieve the Spirit all the time when I say the F word. Okay, I admit that. But, I want Christ living in my heart. Okay, there, I said it. If that doesn't make me saved, I don't know what it. I don't know what it means to be saved if that's not being saved. Because again, these people, they see my content and they're like, "You're not saved. You don't act saved. You say the F word. You don't sound like you're saved." Yeah, then they go and make excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse for Donald Trump. Again, first 2 years of his administration, they made excuses for pedophilia. They made excuses for sexual assault. They made excuses for taking kids and putting in cage. I went through all that before numerous times. They have made so many excuses for this guy. You got Franklin Graham taking pictures of him, and in the background is a picture of Trump on Playboy. And they're like holding thumbs up. And are you fucking kidding me? Why don't you, seriously, Franklin Graham, why don't you take your little thumb, or Falwell, no, it's Falwell, sorry. My bad. Or whatever it was. Why don't you take your little thumb and shove it up your fucking ass? How about that? Whatever. And Frank Graham's no better. He's no better either. And I get the shits every time. Oh, we gotta pray for our leader. Gotta pray for our president. You motherfuckers didn't pray for Obama one single bit. And you know what the Bible says about shit like that? You will get what you receive. You will get what you did not pray for him. You will get kicked in the dick. Oh, we're gonna do it now because he's got an R next to his name, even though he's the biggest scumbag to walk the face of fucking God's green earth. But hey, let's not quabble over that fact. I guarantee you ask Donald Trump, "Are you a scumbag?" He'd be like, "Yeah." You know, I mean, seriously, he'd probably admit that he's probably not the most what's the word? Like if you ask him if he's if he's everybody's cup of tea, he'd probably be like, no, I'm not. You know, give me a break. I don't want to talk about that scumbag. I really don't. I don't want to talk about him. Just looking at him irritates me. Just stupid hair irritates me. His dopey little face irritates me. He irritates me. I always said Obama would have made the perfect Antichrist. He's handsome. He's cool. You could deal with it. If they came out and he's like, I'm the Antichrist. I'm gonna build this fucking temple. I'm gonna go jerk off on the stupid seat. Whatever the fuck I gotta do. Whatever they do. And he comes out and I'm God. Fuck you. Worship me. I'd be like, hey, you know what? Great choice. We're all going to hell. The world's gonna turn upside down. But that's a great choice for the Antichrist. You know? Now I hope that Trump is not the Antichrist. I really do. I really hope he's not, because that's just a bad choice, dude. That's just... The guy's ego is too fucking big. To be honest with you, I believe the guy's ego is too fucking big for even the Antichrist. The Antichrist is like, fuck, I can't deal with this guy. He's too much of an ego hog. Then you take somebody like Jared Kushner, who's dildoing around on the side. I don't know, man. I got a bad vibe from that little fucker. I tell you, the whole living in 666 New York City penthouse bullshit. And he's doing the whole peace deal behind the scenes. I've seen Left Behind, motherfucker, and I talked about that before. I've seen Left Behind. I'm telling you, it's. I think there's a little bit of truth to that. I think a lot of it's backwater bullshit, but I'm telling you. I don't know, man. Apparently, they said they're already starting building the temple. Apparently, I don't know to what extent. The one, because again, the reporter said, when you guys plan to rebuild the temple, and he immediately said, "Oh, we already started." Or like construction, or like the plans are already going into motion, or something to that effect. I don't know. I don't remember when that was, and it may have been just recently, it may have been a year ago. I don't know. That's some crazy shit. That's some crazy fucking shit. And all these stupid ass rabbis are they're gonna be in their glory. They're finally gonna have their fucking conquering king. The whole point of Christ, the whole point of him being enthroned is that he's right now the conquering king. And the reason that his disciples were happy after the two beings in the sky, the angels or whatever they were, looked and said, "Why are you looking up here?" They left and went back to the city, and they were happy because they knew Christ was getting what was coming to him, literally. And he's now reigning, and they were happy to go tell other people about it, because before they had a lot of sorrow, because he said, "Where I go, you cannot follow." And they followed him outside the city, and it's like, "I gotta go, fuck you." And it's like they were all sad, and then they looked, why are you looking up here?" And they're like, "Oh, hey." It literally 180 and went off, and was happy to tell people that he finally got, it's finally here. The conquering king is finally here. He's not here to boast your ego. He's not here to make Israel great again bullshit. Okay, he's not here to conquer your physical enemies. At least not in that sense. Because that's the kicker. When Christ comes back with his armies, that's when all debts are going to be paid. That's when all things are going to be made whole. And again, you got all this stuff. Oh, let's build a freaking wall. Why? Why? Christ said, do not look at the here and now. Everything he said, you look at any of the first few things he talked about. Need to be born again. And the disciples, what did they say? How do you go back into your mother's womb? And he said, no, dummy. Oil and water and bullshit. It's a spiritual thing. Don't worry about the here and now. The here and now will take care of itself. Let the dead bury the dead. It is what it is. Yet, we're sitting here as born-again Christians in 2019 talking about, let's build a wall. No. Everything that's happening here will happen the way God wanted it to. And not only that, it'll work itself out. You don't need a wall. You don't need Smith & Wesson. You don't need that bullshit. You don't need any of that stuff. You don't. Some people will say, well, it's naive. No, it's not naive. It's called faith, asshole. It's called faith in God, that God has a perfect plan. Yeah, you know what? That perfect plan might be that your whole family gets raped and murdered. You know? Yet I'm told, well, the trial comes and you're supposed to, give me a break. You can't have it one way and then have it completely the other. You have to either admit you're full of shit, or you just don't. See, that's a problem. Christians want to cherry pick shit. They want to cherry pick shit. They want to be like, well, I trust God, but I'm going to build a wall. Or I trust God, but I need Smith & Wesson in case those, MS-13 come in and rape the family. I mean, really? Really? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to process that, because again, you can't say you trust God, but I got to have my Smith & Wesson on me. We got to make sure we got the gun loaded so we can kill somebody who maybe made a really stupid decision at that moment in time. Again, it goes back to the rapture. Fuck them. We're gone. We're out of here. So fuck everybody else. I'm telling you, I have got a really bad feeling God is going to look at that and say, oh yeah? Fuck you. Rapture ain't happening. You're going to live through the whole thing. And again, if this shit is outside of time, the rapture, like I said, could have happened back when he ascended. Because he went into the clouds to go into heaven. Now keep in mind, everybody who was dead was in this faux paradise area. Now, when he took, the keys of hell and death and he raised again, I don't know. Maybe they were all raptured in that moment. The minute he disappeared in those clouds, maybe that's when, like I said, the rapture happened. We die today, we go to that moment because it's outside of time, so it's technically not like you're going back in time. It's like, oh, we're going back 2,000 years ago. No, you're not, because time has no placement. There really would be no chronological order, because chronological order would insinuate time. Like, oh, this happened and then that happened. Okay. But if they're happening simultaneously at the same time, like literally in the same moment, like you watch your TV and there's like 4 different shows you want to watch and they're all on at the same time, you got a DVR one, it's a similar concept. Now we live in a world where we can do that. Most of this shit's on demand. Like I can go to, Netflix, I can watch one thing, an hour later I can watch another thing. I can't really watch them both at the same time, but, I mean, seriously, you're going to tell me that in the grandiosity of all of this, we're not going to see the fall of Lucifer? We're not going to see Christ being enthroned? We're not going to see these things? Honestly, we're not going to see dinosaurs? We're not going to see Adam and Eve? We're not going to watch that event? We're not going to be able to see that event? Well, it happened in the past. So? So what? God knows the end from the beginning, which means he is outside of time. Therefore, he knows the end from the beginning. And again, if you take time and space as a concept, as an actual thing, a fourth dimensional thing, then it doesn't just happen and then just, oh, it disappeared. You missed it. That's not how it works. It doesn't work that way. I don't think it works that way. Now, I suppose it could on some level in the sense that it just like everything stacks up. I use the Lego block analogy where you just like take a blue and put it on a red and then put a yellow and it builds up and that's your reality. Like some people say, well, what if I change the red with the blue and it creates an alternate universe, alternate parallel universe? No. No, it doesn't. It is what it is. You know? Because theoretically, okay, yeah, 5 minutes ago I may have put a yellow block, but then an hour from now I come back and say, I don't want that yellow block, I'm going to change it to blue. Well, guess what? You didn't create a paradox, you just simply tweaked it. I mean, you simply just changed it in the moment. So it's like, okay, it went yellow, or it went like blue, blue, red, green, green, yellow, blah, 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 blah. 5 minutes later you come back, well, I'm going to take the yellow out and put it in with green. You didn't change the past, you basically changed the... You took the present to... I don't know, it's a weird thing because it's seemingly, especially if you take string theory concept into consideration, that's like a whole... Shit like quantum leap. I don't get me started with that shit. I don't even fucking know Al running around, the one with the hot tits and stuff. I don't need that shit. I'm not even going to get into that, but you get my point. It's like, I don't think time is what we think it is. We look at it from a linear point of view, and that's all we know because it's all there is. Well, I don't think time is linear. I really don't. I really don't. I mean, I think it's a dimension, just like third dimension, second dimension. It's like you draw something on a paper. It's like 2-dimensional, and then you got the physical world, which is 3-dimensional, and then time is your fourth dimension. They're talking there's even like 11th dimension and shit. I mean, I don't know what the fuck's going on there. But what's cool about all that shit is each one would have their own unique physics in a way. So it's like, I don't know, man. Imagine if you got caught up into like some sort of like, I don't know, there's like a rip in reality and you get caught into like the fifth, and gravity is completely different. In fact, you probably wouldn't even be able to survive, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I mean, if you're talking dimensional, Jesus, that's a whole other freaking topic to get into, and it's already an hour and a half, and I don't plan to get into that kind of stuff. Not in this clip. I should, but I won't. Because you were talking like you're talking theoretical fucking science, you're talking theoretical physics, you're talking all this type of stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's and then you got see, another thing. This is going to go way off topic, and I am not going to talk about this very long because, like I said, I cannot go another 3 hours. I physically can't do that shit. But yeah, you look at the freaking movies and stuff, and if there is satanic Illuminati type bullshit, for some reason there's this idea that they have to tell us what's going on, like almost like God demanded, okay, you can deceive them, but you have to make sure they have the ability to know the truth. In other words, they have to seek the truth. Whether they do or not, that's up to them. So in other words, it's like Lucifer or Satan, whatever, has to tell us exactly what's going on. Which is where all these movies like The Bird Box comes in, and Cloverfield Paradox, and Cloverfield, and, whatever, 1885 Lane, or whatever the fuck that was. Cloverfield Lane, whatever the fuck that was. The Alien movies and shit, especially Prometheus, where you got the black goo and the weird alien dude, and he disperses into the water, creating life as we know it. Like, they have to tell you these things right in front of you, and we look at it like, oh, that's just a really cool idea for a movie, and blah, blah, blah. The Matrix, okay, again, I don't know, that's kind of a cool concept, but I don't know about all that because, I mean, seriously, what if it all, if if this world is run by Satan and everything in it is run by Satan, that every single solitary thing that we've ever seen possibly is connected. Everything, every movie that we've ever seen, Wizard of Oz is connected somehow. I mean, it's like, what is Wizard of Oz? Basically, they broke through to another alternate universe. That's some cool shit. Alien, what is it up to now? There was a quadrilogy. Now there's the other two movies, the sextuplets or whatever. I don't know what the fuck you call this shit. Terminator, where the fucking AIs go nuts and shit. You don't know. I mean, you don't know where any of this stuff really. If it all originated from one thing, and it was one of those things to fuck with us, but also tell us the truth, or maybe it's part of the grand delusion. So it's like a catch-22 of a catch-22 on that one. It's like, are they telling us the truth? Are they fucking with us? You know, I don't know. I really don't know. Did CERN open up a parallel universe, or condense two different universes together? Did our original universe die and we manifest here? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, seriously. Like there are things in the Bible that apparently are being Mandela affected. It used to be the lion lay down with the lamb. Now it's the wolf lay down with the lamb. I don't remember that in Sunday school. I don't remember all the freaking memes where you see the lion in the lamb. I don't remember that shit. There was, dude. Do you realize? And I did not know this. I honestly, I don't remember this. Right now, if you look, I think in Deuteronomy or Exodus or one of the earlier books, the word matrix is in there. How the fuck is the word matrix in a King James Bible? I and it's there a couple times, and it's like 4 or 5, 6 times maybe. The word matrix, the actual word. Now, as far as I know, I don't remember the exact date, but the word matrix is. I can't remember who came up with it. Now, was it always in the Bible? I don't remember the word matrix in the Bible. I really don't. I'm not saying it wasn't there, but I don't remember the word matrix because it seems like something you would remember, especially after the movie. You'd be like, "Oh wow, that word's from the Bible." It would make sense. Now it's like, okay, we had the movie The Matrix, and now we're seeing it in the Bible that no one remembered seeing before. It's like, oh, maybe it was just there and we never really paid attention, and all of a sudden, the movie kind of sparked our interest. And like, oh yeah, well, I recognize that word. I don't know. That's weird shit to me. That's really weird shit to me. I don't know. What was the other one? There's the wineskins, and it says bottles now instead of wineskins in the King James. We're not talking like New English translation. Okay. Now I can understand New English translation actually being a New English translation in the sense that it actually makes a fucking sense and took out all the art thou bullshit. You know, it's like the art thou bottles. It's like, what? What? Did they have bottles back then? I mean, I assume they did. The jars, maybe. I don't know. I, I don't know. Then there's all these time travel pictures and shit. Apparently, this is one. I don't know if it's true. It may have been a joke. I don't know. But they're showing like this old war picture from like I don't even know what it was. It may have been maybe in the 40s or something. Maybe World War II. It was a bunch of army guys. Motherfucker dabbing. Motherfucker dabbing. Now I don't know if it was doctored. It probably was doctored. I don't know. I don't know. No, I don't. Again, I don't know if that's true. But there's a couple what was it, that Charlie Chaplin movie? And there's this old broad on the phone. She's literally holding the phone up to her fucking head, and it's in black and white. Um, then there's that other one from like the, oh, I want to say the 50s. I could be wrong. And you got all these old it's this old black and white photo with these dudes, and they got like the bowler hats, and the women got the long skirts, and the almost like they're wearing corsets. It almost looks like it's that kind of time frame, and it's like there's this one dude wearing like shorts and a t-shirt with sunglasses, like Ray-Ban sunglasses, on a cell phone. In the photo, it's like that shit looks completely out of place. Then they found that little fucking miniature pinky ring watch. It looked like, I think they said it had the word Switzerland on the side, or Swiss or something on the side of it. In this cave, like a Chinese cave from like 800 years ago. It's like, okay, okay, I guess. I don't know if that, again, some of the stuff may have been debunked, I don't know. But it would be fucking cool, I'm not gonna lie. It would be so cool. Like these, dude, they're finding these weird, strange fucking animals, these new quote unquote species. Now I understand we're not everywhere, and we can't scourge the bottom of the ocean and find every single solitary thing. But when you see some of these new species, they look like they were literally cobbled together in a lab. And it's like, is this shit coming from like another dimension, like another timeline? Like just bleeding over into ours? Because some of this stuff, dude, like the minute we start seeing unicorns, like, oh, we discovered unicorns. I'm telling you, we're all fucked. We're all fucked. In fact, they actually started doing it. There's actually entire, like, zoos. You see the shit online. They have this entire zoo where they took, like, this zebra and a panther or some shit. And they, like, melded it together. It's this freaky yet beautiful creature. I don't know what the fuck it is. But instead of having like the spots, it's got like stripes, and instead of the stripes, it's got the spots. Imagine like a zebra with spots and you know, like a Cabbage Patch baby's head or something, and with a little fur and stuff. I'll tell you one thing. I honestly, this is my own conspiracy theory. I think the alien greys, I think they are Chinese human experiments. You look at I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be racist when I say this, but you look at the gray and you look at the Chinese people, you see there's a similarity there, dude. There's a similarity there. And I'm telling you, I think it's an unfertilized egg that they fucking tweaked, and they did something with it, and I think they're docile. I think they're just vessels. Because, now, this goes back to the Nephilim and all this other bullshit. Because essentially, the way the narrative goes, this isn't me, this is other people, is that the fallen angels came, they took the women, quote unquote, had the giants, the titans, if you will. That whole thing, because again, if you read the Bible, there's a correlation between those two. Titans and all that shit. Mount Olympus, all that shit, dude. Zeus, all that shit. That could have been real. They're like actually there. I mean, that could have actually been a real thing, not just some hokey pokey little story or like, oh, it's a bedtime story for kids, and it's like comic books for the back in the day. No, this could have been real shit. And what happened is all these freaking giants after the flood, because they were these abominations, because they were part human, part not human. Basically, the whole point was the flood was to wipe them out, plus everybody else. But yet their spirit, whatever that is, was still there. So they're these disembodied spirits. They're basically the demons. They are the demons. They're not just fallen angels. They're the actual demons. And these motherfuckers are looking for physical bodies. I think they were making fucking... I think they were even doing those kind of experiments back after the flood. Or even pre-flood. Like somewhere around... I honestly, God, because I think they were doing some weird shit back then. Because the Bible does say, as in the time of Noah. I mean, I'm telling you, I think they were into some weird fucking shit. Because if you think about it, we see for a fact, you can call it tinfoil hat, whatever. Those motherfuckers were into some serious shit that we can't duplicate today. I mean, just look at the pyramids. We can't duplicate that shit. Just look at some of these, just the buildings and the way they cut the stone and transport it. We cannot do it. And they were doing other stuff. There was other stuff. Now, I mean, realistically, if, as in the days of Noah, they would have had to have very similar shit that we have. Now, we have electronics. I don't think they had electronics. There may have been something equivalent, like crystals or something to that effect, where they could manifest, let's say, an image similar to a TV set. Now, some people are suggesting that, like the demons and shit and whatnot, they can travel through certain things, like your TV. It's a portal, and certain lines and energy things and just power lines and things like that. They can just travel. I don't know about all that, but it's kind of freaky, and I don't know. Because again, there's some weird shit going on back then. You have to, I'm sorry, I don't buy the fact, oh, we're gonna transport these 5-ton rocks, just one, and put a bunch of them together just because, oh, we looked into the sky and we didn't know how to answer what that was, so we wanted to just, uh, I, I don't buy that. I do not buy that for even a minute. Listen, I understand you got stupid people who do stupid shit. I mean, imagine somebody like Carl Stevens was, a pharaoh back in the day. He's in charge. Would he have people making temples and shit in his honor? Probably. I'm surprised he didn't have Greater Grace do that shit. Well, he commissioned somebody to do a portrait of him that one time, but, whatever. I mean, could it just be that simple? Like, oh, it's just some ego fucker? Or would they basically being told to do shit from entities from somewhere, other dimensional or otherwise, or aliens or whatever the fuck you want to call it? Which theoretically you could have interdimensional beings that are posing as aliens, or vice versa. So we look at them and, oh, they're aliens, they're from another planet. No, it's infinitely more likely that any UFO that we see is based here. Like, a lot of people see UFO, they automatically see ET. ET and UFO, extraterrestrial, is not the same one and the same. And I don't like when people make that, don't make that distinction. Just because you see something in the sky and you can't identify it, does not mean it's from another planet. It does not mean it's some extraterrestrial. It doesn't mean any of that bullshit. And like, you see all these shows, I think they really need to go out of their way to separate the two concepts. I really do. Because it does a disservice. It does injustice to the situation. Because, like, I can't describe it. It must be UFO. They're gonna probe my anus now. No, you ain't gonna probe your anus. You're doing that on your own. Trust me. You idiot. But whatever. Neither here nor there. But seriously, there's some really cool conspiracy theories. I'm not gonna lie. There's definitely some very cool biblical conspiracy theories. And it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, there's definitely something going on. Like, because, like, you go back to the Mandela Effect. I mean, the Bible does say hide it in your heart. And that there will come a point when, especially like end times, if you believe in that type of stuff, where it's like the Christians will be rounded up and they will be given a choice: either take the mark of the beast or be beheaded. And and in that moment, God will give them the words to say to, like, hopefully change other people's hearts. He will give them the things to say. Now, you take that kind of an idea and you mix it with hide the word in your heart. Maybe it was foretelling a concept where, The, the Bible literally changed. Not the Bible itself changed, but the Bible itself changed. In other words, the word didn't change, but the something fucked with it, so to speak. You don't know that. I mean, what if they're sending fucking AI back in time? I think you could send an AI back in time. Now, what an AI could do back there, as far as like having, something tangible to actually tap into. Because again, I think there's a difference between the electronics and the microchips that we have today versus what they may have had pre-flood. Again, they may have been doing things with crystals, they may have been doing things with vibration, they may have been doing things with... Again, there's nothing new under the sun, so they theoretically could have had laptop computers. They could have theoretically had space travel. We don't know that. We assume because, some idiot who doesn't believe in God found two pieces of pottery and a buck tooth. And it's like, oh, we know past history. We know it from beginning to end. We were one-celled organisms. We evolved into a piece of shit, and then all of a sudden, we started creating culture. I mean, it's like, oh, there you go. Put it in the kids' history books. No, you don't. We don't know a damn thing. We don't even know what happened last. We can't even remember what happened last week. So shut the fuck up. All these people think they got it all figured out. You know. And I've used this example before, and it's a simplified example, and it may not even be a good example, but it's a simplified one where you get the picture. It's like back in the day, continental drift, the continents were together one big landmass. That's what we believe. That's what we feel is the truth. And if you look at the way the landmass and the tectonic plates work and shit, you could cobble them all back together into one big landmass. Well, we're looking at it today, I don't know what it is, a half an inch, a quarter of an inch, let's just say a full inch. Just say 1 full inch every year the tectonic plates shift. Okay. Now we're going to take that as a fact and say, well, because it does, we view it right now happening at an inch a year, again, whatever it is, it could be half an inch, quarter, whatever. Then therefore we can backtrack it to blah, 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 and it must be 100 million, billion, trillion years. I don't think that's a fair assumption. Yeah, we're observing it today. But that does not mean that's how it is, especially if you understand tectonic plates and earthquakes and the whole concept. And I've used the example, if you take your fingers and lock them and like pull your elbows apart, eventually your fingers are going to just like bloop, and there's going to be a huge gap between where your fingers were. And now imagine once that happened, then all of a sudden every year an inch it goes further and further apart. But that initial burst, that may have been the equivalent of like a billion years worth of inches, happened simultaneously all at one time. So again, we're looking at it from what we see today and like, oh, it must have been X number of years. I don't know if you can say that. I'm not saying you can't say that, but I don't know if you can say that either. I don't know if it's fair to say that. Because again, if that were the case, and again, that would be a big event. That would be a huge event. That would be a gigantic event. And we know that the freaking Earth is not on the same axis as it was before. It's 5 or 6 degrees off or something like that. Now, I don't know about you, but okay, now you've got, I don't know, event like the flood, maybe, where that shit happened, like, immediately. The tectonic plates just said, fuck you, went bloop. And it was like this huge, just void opened up. And all this water swallowed up, and all of a sudden you got tsunamis everywhere. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I figured it out or that I got it all figured out, but, there are examples of things that could have possibly happened that could change what we think we know. That's all I'm saying. Now, my scenario might be a little whatever, but there's dude, it's the fucking universe. There's got to be 101 different ways to possibly have a different outcome. And I just think settling on one because of, oh, well, we see it this way today. Just because we see it this way today does not mean we see it. It was exactly the way it was. Because again, even the Earth is on a different axis, so we can say, well, the Earth is on the axis, so it's this way. And no, no, you can't say that because just because it is doesn't mean it was. Like, I can look at it and say, oh, the pimple on my ass is healing. Nice. But a week ago, I didn't have a pimple on my ass. So if I could go back and say, well, I had a pimple on my ass for 100 million years. No, I didn't. I don't know. I think it's... I don't know. I don't even know how to word it. I'm not even sure the right possible word. But it's like... I think it does a disservice to sit there and say, oh, we got it all figured out now. Hey. Okay, there's a potential logical choice of, okay, it happened this way, or this is the best case scenario, or this is the best, well established theory of how it happened. I can deal with that, but it's just that, a theory, which means 100 other theories can come along and say, hey, guess what if? And that's what I'm about. What if all that shit caused the problem? But actually, it's very cool because you know what would happen if you... In Antarctica, there would have to be a literal culture that's been flash frozen. You realize that, right? Because we believe that the whole continent, when everything was together, it was all this warm, almost tropical, Like, for example, you didn't have the ice caps. You didn't have all that stuff. But the minute... Because now some people want to say, well, there was like this outer perimeter of water. I don't know about that. Like, there was Earth, and then there was this layer of water. I don't know about that, but if there was, then guess what? The sun would hit that. It would make everything nice and warm. And actually probably make it too hot, but whatever. It is what it is. It'd be like boiling an egg. I don't know about that, but... That'd be basically like a blanket over the entire Earth. And then if all that water just came crushing in, and we had a pole shift, then you would have things like where the temperatures would change, where instead of it being tropical throughout the entire planet, now all of a sudden certain areas it's like super fucking cold. Because again, even if you look at like upstate New York, and upstate, the whole, this whole country, really, you literally see where the ice just gouged the fuck out, like something, like, now they say it's, drift, and it just happened over slow time. Okay, that could be. What if it was a major event? It's like, I don't know. I mean, you could have it both ways. I mean, there's pros and cons to either or. I don't know. But shit would have flash froze. I mean, it would have. Under that scenario, it would have flash froze. And that's all I'm giving you is a scenario. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying I believe it, but it is what it is. But yeah, shit would have flash froze. You say, well, where did all the water go from the flood? It flash froze. They say that if all the ice and the polar caps and the whatnots melt, global warming, we're all going to be flooded. Okay. Okay, so there could have theoretically been a flood then. Because the kicker, a lot of people say, well, it's just a flood myth. It's a flood myth. If it's a flood myth, then why does every single culture everywhere have one? The Native Americans have a flood. The Chinese have a flood. The Japanese have a flood. Fucking everybody and their mother has a freaking flood story. Gilgamesh and bullshit. They all have the same fucking story. It leads me to believe that it probably did happen. But it was just a localized flood. Although I guess theoretically, if the continent was together at the time, I don't know if it was. Maybe it was. Maybe it was. Maybe it happened billions of years ago, and that was something completely different than sort of. I don't know. Let's say pre-flood. Let's say pre-flood, the continent was all together. It explained why there's dinosaurs everywhere. It would explain why, it would explain a lot of stuff. So I believe the continent had to be. No, well, the timing is off or whatever, but whatever. It would explain a lot, especially if everything just kind of like ripped the fuck apart. I'm sorry, going 6 degrees off your axis. I think that's going to be a serious cataclysmic. Okay, and especially if you're talking tectonic plate. Maybe it was just the tectonic plates themselves that just gave way. You know, that could have caused the split. That could have caused the flood. That could have caused everything. So I don't know. And if the continents were super close together at the time, because let's be honest, you can only go back so far. I mean, you know, however many inches a year, you push that shit back together, and you can only go back so far. Ain't billions and billions of years. I'm just gonna throw that out to you. You say what it is, but that shit only goes back. Again, no, granted, I understand tectonic plates, and things go here and things go there and things go under, and then this is things shat out, and that's how you know islands are made and volcanic, and I get all that shit. Whatever. But like for example, we clearly see that there's tectonic plates because we see South America and we see Africa, and it's like, no, they look like they fit together. You got India and it kind of just shoved up in there. It's just like literally India's like the butt plug that just went up in there. Whatever, whatever. But again, all that ice melts. Guess what? You got a fucking flood. Oh, there's a flood. Flood's a made up story. It's a myth. It's a myth. It's a myth. Yeah, you're telling me that if there's global warming and all the ice caps melt, that we're going to be flooded. What? How can you have it both ways? How can you tell me that global warming is going to kill us all? We're going to be under lots and lots of water, and then sit there and say, "Well, the Bible flood didn't ever happen." The fuck are you talking about? It never happened. I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, seriously, if you're talking that kind of force where the tectonic plates were like, "Fuck you," to the point where the entire Earth just literally turned like a doorknob, like bloop, 6 degrees or 5 degrees, whatever it is, on its axis, and there's floods and waters and shit. Because again, let's just say that there was this outer area of water. That means the entire planet, yes, every part of the planet would have been warm. The minute you take that blanket away and all that water come crashing down, and you tilt it on its axis, and what we see today, like, oh, I don't know, North Pole, South Pole, Antarctica, these places that are flash fuck frozen, would be just that, because it would go from really nicely warm to holy fucking shit, it's cold. It'd be bloop, instant freeze, insta freeze. I don't know. And then you have the rain and the snow packs up, and miles of snow. I mean, how would you have miles of snow anyway? Because that's how it would work. Well, if that's the case, then again, you could backtrack that too and say the Earth is X number of years old. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna sit there and pretend I know it, but I'm not gonna sit there and to be like hook, line, and sinkers. Oh, everything, yeah, everything, it's cool, everything. You know, is what it is. But yeah, you're talking about a serious fuckery. That would rock a little boat and a little thing with a bunch of little animals on it. I tell you that much. Dude, that fucking boat would be upside down repeatedly. I mean, can you imagine that the boat tipped upside down? There's all this like shit, animal shit, and like you just like the shit's in the ceiling and it overturns and the shit just right on top of you, and Noah's like, oh my god. I mean, you thought Jim with spaghetti sauce in his beard was bad. Wait till that little boat gets overturned. The tectonic plate shifts and shit. Oh my Christ. Goddamn dinner. Imagine if Jim was on that fucking boat. Big shit in my beard, dinner. Oh! There'd be big shit everywhere, dude. Oh my god. I don't know. I like to think there was dinosaurs before the flood. I'm not gonna lie. No, I did see this thing where somebody was saying there's a Bible verse that kind of mentioned like some sort of dragon esque thing. I don't know. I don't know. I definitely think there were people and dinosaurs together. I'm just gonna throw that out to you. I do believe that. I'm like, oh, you're stupid. They're stupid. No, that's one thing I do believe. Oh shit! You see that fucking thing? You got the dinosaur track and the man track and the fucking thing, and they're all running together. What is this? Fred Flintstone and Dino? Fuck you. Well, one happened this time. No, bullshit. That's not really a dinosaur track. That's, no, bullshit. Bullshit. I'm telling you, I think those motherfuckers, I think dinosaurs on some level, now granted, now again, if we're talking the whole really warm climate, because again, you're talking about Earth as we know it would have been very, 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 very different. It would have been very different. It would not be what we know today. Okay, because if there was an outer layer of water and it was super warm, things could have grown much larger than they did, than they do now. Okay, it could have been ripe for that kind of thing. The atmosphere around would be different. The oxygen levels would be different. Like right now, dinosaurs and giants could not survive in what we have right now. And for us, it would probably be super hard to breathe, but or whatever. But if you're talking about a completely different atmosphere, and that's not different completely, but you know, you could have giants, and the whole thing would be ripe to cause things to be big. That's not really far fetched. I mean, it's not. It's not okay. Might be tinfoil hatish, but it's not the realm of impossibilities because it's just not. Okay. No, yes, giants could not survive right now. I mean, they could not in that sense. Not maybe 9, 10, 15 feet, but anything higher than that, no. Dinosaurs could not survive. But I think there was some mid-range dinosaurs and shit that survived the flood. I do. Where do they get the stories from the knights and shit going up to face the dragons and stuff? Was it just made up? Could there have been dragons in caves? Actual dinosaurs or what was left of them. Now they wouldn't be like super huge. I don't think they would have been like gigantic. You know, like 37 stories high with a little dick. I don't think that, but you know, you could have a mid range. Like I don't know. I mean, is that possible? Could shit like that have survived? Now again, because of the shift, the big ones wouldn't have survived, but the medium sized ones could have easily, especially if you put the fuckers in a cave. Because you're telling me that for the duration of the flood, 40 days, 40 nights, whatever it was, you're telling me that there weren't pockets of air somewhere in like a cave? I don't know. That doesn't sound far fetched to me. I don't know to what extent, you know. But is there a possibility that could have happened? I don't know. You can't sit there and say that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that any of this happened or didn't happen. You can neither confirm nor deny, motherfucker. And that's all I'm saying that shit. But I mean, seriously, could the dragons in the old knights and shit and whatnot, could they have just gone out and killed the remaining dinosaurs? Because they did. It seemed like when you read that shit, Arthur and all that shit, and we have to assume there was some variant of truth. Now, some of it's fictional and some of it might be like just fantasy and like, comic books for that day versus Zeus and shit back in the other day versus like X-Men today. Like some people look back and, oh, the X-Men, oh my god, there were people who shot beams out of their asshole. Whatever. You get my point. But there had to be some variant of truth there. Like you're telling me there weren't young knights who just went out there and was like, oh, let's, rid ourselves of these menacing creatures. Really? Really? Honestly, you're going to tell me that there's just no possible way? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the idea had to come from somewhere. Now, was it just, made up? Just a nice little bedtime story? I don't know. Maybe they actually did go do that. Because all the big dinosaurs would die, so you'd be left with, like, medium size. And it depends, too. I mean, theoretically, a hippo could be considered dinosaur-esque. Maybe. A rhino, maybe. There are certain animals that could definitely be considered, potential dinosaur-esque. Now, obviously, they're different. They're different variants of species of them, obviously. But you get my point. I mean, there could still be theoretical dinosaurs today. Obviously, they're not huge, but they're, I don't know. I mean, but it's like anything else. I mean, you want to tell me that this shit just kind of evolved into this, that, and the other? Well, what better way to evolve than have the entire atmosphere around Earth, the way the oxygen levels were, that was conducive for larger animals, then got literally turned on its ass to not be conducive to that, so that, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's overly far-fetched. I mean, especially considering there clearly was some sort of pole shift, which means the entire planet just said, fuck you. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a big event to me. Like a tectonic plate shifting, flood warranting fucking problem. Not just something like, oh, just sort of gradually. No. No. You're talking upheaval. Okay, you're talking, holy shit, what the fuck? I don't know. Maybe it's when the freaking maybe the aliens brought the moon into our orbit, and that's when the freaking tectonic plates shifted and all that shit happened. You imagine that? Imagine that. There was a point when it was no moon. I don't know. You never know. I'm being stupid with, but I don't know. And I admit it is fun to kind of ponder and be like, oh, what if, Listen, I understand that, and I understand that there's a difference between reality and speculation, and I get that, but, like, I think God and science work hand in hand, so all these people, I don't believe in God, well then, which I always thought was stupid, because in the next breath you're going to tell me that the multiverse exists where anything is possible? Why couldn't there be God in the multiverse? What if there was a God who set everything into motion, thus creating the multiverse? Yeah, there might be some multiverses where God isn't there. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. He's just not in that particular universe at that exact moment. But you're telling me that, oh, there's a universe where I have 6 toes. There's a universe where I've got a tree trunk-sized dick. There's a universe where I'm rich and famous and banging hookers every day. Like Charlie Sheen, Tiger Blood bullshit. There's all these alternate universes where there's all these different choices and shit. Well, why can't there be one for God? Why can't, of all the infinite possibilities, one of them be God exists? I mean, really? Seriously? You gonna... I don't know. And even if God isn't like what, we want to believe him to be. Let's say he's not a spirit. Let's say he's not, because the Bible says he is, so I mean the Bible is a liar, but let's just say he's not. Let's say he's some putz in a stupid spaceship seeding different planets. Okay, fine. It's still a God who created us. what, whether he's a Sumerian prick or whatever he is, it still holds true. It may not be all the, glorified, whatever you want to call it. It may not be the most, commercial concept that you've ever seen, but it's there. It doesn't have to be, whatever. It's like Santa Claus. Does Santa Claus exist? No, but was there a dude named, you know, is it based on real life? Yes. So it's like, okay, so maybe dinosaurs were this, that, or the other, and maybe they were blah blah blah, but there's still truth in there somewhere. There's still things that could and definitely did happen. We may not know it 100%, but to then sit there and say, well, it didn't happen, couldn't have happened, it just couldn't have happened. It says who? God can't exist. Says who, motherfucker? You're talking about multiverse, you're talking about multidimensional, you're talking all this other bullshit, even if it's just little fucking faggot ass alien greys. You're telling me that even then, you're gonna say that there's no God? Even if God is an alien little gray. That's just weird to me. Which I think is blasphemy, but whatever. I'm just sick and tired of people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, talking like they know what they're talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about, therefore I continue to talk. Okay, that may have sounded whatever, but it's true. I'm not saying it's the end all be all. Yeah, what I'm saying might be stupid. There might be some truth in areas, and it might be some parts of what I just did for the last 2 hours. Holy Christ, another 2 hour clip. Some of this stuff may be completely tinfoil hat. Other stuff might be, there might be some truth to it. You don't know. Who knows? I'm not saying you got to cherry pick or anything, but maybe there's truth there. Maybe there's not. Maybe it's all just me being stupid, and it hopefully getting you to think, what if, for 2 hours of your life. Either way, vain imaginations. Maybe I'm just trying to get you to vain imaginate. I don't know. I do know I'm tired. I can tell you right now. Holy crap! I need a nap. I do. It's like 4:30, and I need a nap. I want to take a nap about like 3 hours ago, and I was like, nah, I want to do this clip. Because each one of the clips was, I think they kind of built upon each other. I didn't plan it that way, or I don't know if, well, let's put it this way. I don't know if they did, but if they did, I didn't plan it that way. And a lot of this was just, I was just kind of like messing around, not like screwing around, but just kind of like, oh, here's an idea. Let's ponder it for a little bit, And then one thing kind of led into another, and then another, and another. And I wanted to add this, what happens to us when we die, to the mix, because I didn't really take it into consideration in the other clips. So that's what this is. It's like I'm trying to take it into. So yes, I am trying to hammer in biblical concepts into my idea. Okay, I suppose that's what I'm doing, even though it's not. Like, I'm not gonna write a paper about it and be like, oh, new theoretical doctrine. No. Because I'm probably, it's one of those things that there's probably zero truth to, but I think it's just fun to kind of speculate and wonder. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's a bad thing if you take it as a fact when it's not, but it's also a fact if you don't take it as a fact and it is. So I guess it's either or. Anyways, what else is there? But yeah, so all these people who want to sit there and say, oh, your mother died and she's in heaven. No, she's not in heaven. She's in paradise, which is not heaven. They're two different things. Christ was in paradise, and then he left. Then the whole keys of hell and death and whatnot. Then he rose again. So, again, my initial theory was okay, everything that we're told about a potential rapture and things that were going to happen for his second coming happened at his death. Sun turned dark, earthquake, moon to blood, the dead in Christ shall rise. All of that happened during his crucifixion, death, burial, resurrection, ascension. So my theory, again, I don't want to use theory, but again, my idea was, what if that's when the rapture happened? Because again, we have this belief system that the rapture is going to happen pre-tribulation, and all the saints who are just in tune with Christ and in tune with the Republican Party are just going to be swift away, just like a little Swiffer sweeper, just bloop, right up into the little basket, and we're just going to go right up into the clouds with Jesus, and it's going to be magic, and everybody else on earth, well, they had their choice, fuck them. And like I said, I got a bad feeling about that. I really got a bad again. Why is God going to take us out when He needs us the most? Our great commission was to go into all the world, and again, Christ's prayer was that we not be delivered from the evil one, but that we be saved from. Basically, we be protected from him. So I think we're going to see the Antichrist. We're going to be right there fighting the fight. It's not going to be an us versus them, like we are. That's the problem. Christians are always about us versus them. Wheat versus tares. Wheat versus this one. That one versus this one. Goats versus whatever. Yeah, I understand it's saved and unsaved. But if you're talking about a pre-tribulation rapture, again, what happens to the people who die during that? What happens to people who are still alive? What happens? I don't know. Now, if you had a retroactive rapture, when Christ died, buried, and resurrected, and ascended, then it could be an interesting little situation. Again, not saying it happened, not saying it's true, but it could be an interesting little situation. It put a whole little different paint job on it. Now, again, I'm not here trying to manipulate the Bible into my own little personal, playground of imagination. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, is there a possibility to that? Yes or no? I don't know. Yes, I keep trying to find ways to fit it all together. Only because I don't feel I've exhausted enough potential understanding to say it 100% can't be true. Because, again, there's a few questions, there's a few possible issues, but so does the way we've been taught, too. And this has come from people who say, oh, your mother's in heaven. My mother's not in heaven, she's in paradise. There's a difference. We will go to heaven when we're raptured. And what if the rapture happened when Christ ascended? We met him in the air. Because again, if you look at the words, if you look at the concepts, we will meet Christ in the air. We assume that he's coming back because, he's coming back for a quote-unquote second coming, but the rapture, he's only coming halfway. What? Why? Why is he only coming halfway? We're going to meet him in the air. We're going to meet him in the clouds. What if we met him in the clouds when he ascended? And then we all went to heaven, and he got enthroned and got the glory. And we were there to witness it because that's when it happened. Think about that for a second. That makes a lot more sense to me than anything else. Now, again, I'm not saying it's true, and it probably isn't. But it makes more sense than a pre-tribulation rapture. Absolutely makes more sense than a pre-tribulation rapture. And I don't even think it changes any doctrines at all, other than the pre-tribulation rapture, which I don't even think, fuck that. Fuck that doctrine. I mean, listen, I hope there's pre-tribulation rapture because I'm a self-centered prick and I want self-preservation and I don't want to go through a tribulation. And I just pray that my physical body holds out until that happens. So I'm not going to sit there and try to parse words with you on that. I do hope it's a thing because I'm selfish. That being said, why should God honor that? I'm admitting I'm being selfish. I do hope there's a pre-tribulation rapture. I hope it happens within my lifetime. But like I said, I'm saying it sarcastically. I'm saying it, you know, I'm saying it selfishly. So, not sarcastic. I shouldn't say that. I'm saying it, whatever. But again, what if that is the case? Everything about his second coming, or his arrival on Earth again, after all that, again, rapture, so on and so forth, I don't know. I don't know. There's a good possibility that could be a thing. Because if not, then okay, he ascended into heaven all by himself. He's there at the right hand of the Father. The only ones up there are him and those two and the freaking angels. And Lucifer, of course, he's up there chastising the brethren day and night. Which I don't even know why God gives him the time of day anyway, but whatever. Those are the only ones. And the rest of the saints are in a holding area somewhere until the appointed time in the time stream, because apparently God is still in the time stream, if that's the case. And none of what I said makes sense because they're not outside of time. If they're not outside of time, then it doesn't really matter. So they have to go. So Adam and Eve have been there for 10,000 years plus, minus whatever. And they've been sitting there for 10,000 years waiting for the rapture. Waiting for when they can go to heaven. I don't know, man. I really, really don't know. Because again, if they're outside, again, twinkling of an eye, that if they're outside of time, a twinkling of an eye could be a half a second, it could be a billion years. It could be eternity. A twinkling of an eye can be an eternity. Again, you talk about time being relative. I've used the example, you kiss a girl, it feels like, half a second. You put your hand on a hot stove, it feels like a million years. It's relative. Being outside of time, it is relative. It's eternity. What is eternity? You can't measure eternity. What if eternity is just a frozen moment in time where it's like everything is just there and you were experiencing it and you don't age, it just is. What is eternity? I don't know. You have to define it. Every time I think of eternity, I've literally think of just this frozen moment in time. Now, I'm sure there's certain chronological order that does take place, because obviously it's going to be the minute we mentally wake up and are there, and there's going to be certain aspects that happen. But again, if you're talking time as an actual thing, like an actual dimension, then there is no such thing as chronological order. You could see earthly events, you could see heavenly events, you could see all things. You could be everywhere. You know? I I don't know. I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't know. I just whatever. I think it's fascinating. To be honest with you, I think this topic is really fascinating. And like I said, I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm not, but just take it for what it's worth. Take it with a grain of salt. Take it. Don't even take it, because it's probably, I will say, beyond the shadow of a doubt, it's probably 100% not even remotely possible. It's probably not even true. But if there's even a hint of truth to it, it's worth exploring. I think it's worth exploring. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I've been trying to say for the last 4 clips. I think it's worth exploring. And because of that, you take it for what it's worth. And it's not completely hammered out. There may be flaws. There may be ways to explain those flaws, or they may not be. It's essentially biblical theory, if you will. You know? which again I think is fascinating. Now I'm hoping to God, I hope to God there's not another story. There's not another part to this, because this shit has gone on super, super long, dude. Dude, we're talking 5 hours between this clip and the last one. It's actually been over 5 hours. Wow. And that's just two of them. There's two other clips to go. This is over 5 hours long, dude. Oh my god. Anyways, I really do have to end it. I can go on and on and on. In fact, I'll probably make another clip. It'll probably be part 6 at some point. You know. But, whatever. It is what it is. So, I'm just going to leave you with that.